So have the latest version. The latest version right now is 27, 3.4.27. So we will start. You don't have to do anything. Oops, not generate license, but import license. I'm always importing it from another file because I'm finding this faster. So this is the thing that you will know. Okay, BC Cloud, and I have the BC refresh. Okay, so first exercise. So I can take data from the cloud and create data warehouse on my local computer and analysis on my local computer. I don't have to publish to the cloud analysis services for my evaluation. Now I refresh this, fine. And here first thing appears. Test if I have all the available resources, if I'm using virtual machine, which I'm not, so I should be using test my local resources. So when I hit this, I said, whoa, 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 a lot of testing and something is not okay. And in my case, Polybase is not running. So let's just go for services and run Polybase. So Polybase SQL Server options is a SQL Server engine, which is installed. A part of installation is this. And we are going to look into documentation. There are two services that have to be running in order to be efficiently working with the data. So we'll start from here on, and let's say restart it again. Now Polybase is running, it is also enabled, and version is kind of okay. Then also part of the Polybase is Hadoop connectivity enabled. This is actually, there are two engines, so this is it. And there is one library of Azure. I will look into documentation for authentication. If it is installed, it is, and the version is this. So in order to understand what looks like a standard installation, but suddenly when we are in the cloud, we have to do a lot of testing, I'll just go and explain you because here things change a lot. And what we will do now is the following. Okay. And that is, just give me 1 second. Okay. So I will look for documentation and go to BI4Dynamics web page, resources, BC Cloud documents, and this is the installer extension, no system requirements, installation manual here. Cloud deployment. See what we have here. Okay, so we are going to install application. Optionally, we can use Azure Analysis Services, and then we are going to manage distance. This is 29-page documentation here. Now, prerequisite, I will not explain. I just want to give you first the big picture. And BI4Dynamics installation is already there. This is already there. This is also installed, right? So I will guide you through. And it says if you plan to use Azure Analysis Services, then there is another step. But if we don't do it, so this is the cloud installation. That's a step over. But here are we then going back. And this is local and Azure installation. For all the testing purposes, we are deploying analysis services in locally. And if we are going to deploy this in Azure, then we also have to enter this information because it will be in a connection string. And, these are some of the checkings that we do. So what do we have here? Let's just go for our data transformation part here. So to understand what kind of transformation we are doing it. Or actually, it's even better to give you another document which is also available publicly. It's here. It's a data transformation with Azure pricing. This one, data transformation. Here, this one. Okay, so let's go and look into what do we have here. Cloud is in data in Business Central are in Azure SQL Server. And this database is not accessible to any external tool. Now, Microsoft CRM is on a Dataverse. So it's, let's say, on a blob storage. It's not on the database. But these and F&O are on Azure SQL. And what we need to do is create a way to get this data out to data lake, blob storage. So once we have it here, then our data warehouse, whether local or virtual machine, can take this data and move it on. If we do one update out of Business Central, this is one detached process from this one that is loading data warehouse. If we would say, why don't we just go directly? The problem here is if I go to my picture in the on-premise versus cloud, is that if we query this directly, this is what we do with on-premise installation, then we have, let's say, gigabyte per minute kind of thing, okay? And this pipe here, anything out is when we are loading data full, let's say 50 times slower. So that's why we want to do an intermediate storage, which is filled all the time, let's say every day. And then when we run this pipe, this is this fast like this one. Because also what most of the partners are doing, which is more simpler, is that create a Power BI model and connect directly to the source. The source pipeline is the same. But the problem is that these reports are slow because the pipe here is slow. And then have to compromise whether they create some aggregations and just do the daily summary of transactions, not by summary of each transactions of what we do. So this is what we do. So the step number one is to have a Docker, which is an engine pumping data out. So this is the step number one that is not needed to be present in on-premise world. It's our specific, and this is pushing data out on a scheduled time. A Docker, it's taken from an image, and it says, oh, I have to wake up at midnight. What do I do? It goes to the blob storage for information. In the blob storage, he will get tables and columns and address of a Business Central tenant, which has to take data, and he starts pumping data out. Okay, so let's see this Docker part here. So the exporting BC data is done by installing extension, which is a part of installation on Business Central. It's a Business Central database. This is what Tomasz and Micha and Jan are doing. So they are taking care that there is extension installed that will take care about the tables. So we create queries, 150 queries. I'll show the queries, and these queries are then are triggered by Docker, and OData protocol is used to read this and dispose this data to the blob storage. So installation of extension is where you would have a BI4Dynamics extension, and you would install it in the Business Central. In our application, our Business Central, okay, Business Central would be here. So now I'm logging with the Business Central application. And from user perspective, I could now go into the solution, post invoices and payments and so on. And this is it. And there are extensions set up which are installed in application to work. So BI4Dynamics, we have this security, and there are some extensions, as you can see here, also different versions. This one is not installed. I don't know why, but these are extensions which are available. One of the extensions, or actually two, are our extensions. We have the history because we install each extension here. So what this extension would do, okay, it would create, so we cannot, if we look into the tables here, let's say if we go into the table information, this is a list of all the tables that is in the Business Central. So the tables are per company, and there is 1,100 or 1,500, I forgot, tables in Business Central for each company. And BI4Dynamics cannot say a Docker, hey Docker, you go to the item table and get the data out, or you go to the sales header table or so on. You see, we have several companies, and these are, oops, not this, and these are, yeah, no, these are extensions. So going back to the tables, table information. This is what I wanted to expand. We have these tables, but we cannot connect directly to these tables. Microsoft will not let you go and say, I want to load GL entry, give me these 2.5 million GL entries. No. It will not go. So before we connect and we read the data, we cannot even read directly. We have to create a web service, which is a list. Each table is put, if you want to say. It's presented by one web service. So let's just go for our BI4Dynamics. Okay. Another code unit. These are queries. Okay, here it comes. So our extension, okay, and a Docker, let's just say together, are creating, I wouldn't go to the detail. This is enough for you to know. Queries. What is a query? Let's say query is pretty much a view. Like if I would go into the Business Central, the closest thing to the query that we see here, it's something super simple. Let's say on location table. On location table, it would look like a view. So actually, I would be just, saying like this. One table per view, and it would look like this. Just forget about all the other text here. So it would say select, and you say which fields you want to select and from which table. We know this is, let's say, location table, and we need, actually, we put all the fields into this so that all the fields that are in the location table are going to be available. And this query would be created and would be named BI4QX. We just make it so that there will be no duplicates whatsoever. And somewhere there is a object name location. Okay, here it is. So this is kind of closest to this part here. It's not written in SQL. It's written in language of Business Central. So that's not SQL, and you don't have to do it, and it's done automatically. So all the tables that we need with all the available fields are created as queries, and these queries have the URL, and this is actually an OData way of getting data out. If I run this, it will be, you see, I'm getting this information in text on my screen. Actually, I don't know what actually I did BI4 location. So obviously I have that many locations with all the additional fields here. But in the export, I have a code, actually header and information. You see, if I look into how many times it repeats, it's an overkill because that's how I do. It's not just that I'm getting into this output neat fields, I just get also, unfortunately, headers. So that's kind of way. You see, it for each record, I have a lot of repeat work here. But that's how it works. So this query is created, and 150 queries are created if we need 150 tables. And then Docker would connect to this address and start reading this table, the query, and as we have a result on the screen, what Docker would do is to deposit this to Azure Data Lake. Okay, so if you go to Azure Data Lake, we go to storage account. Okay, so let's just see this. So I'll just try to find if you have any open. I didn't use anything BI4Dynamics. There are different containers. Just see if we count blob containers. We'll figure out BC export. Maybe this is something. Okay, so it is a name of the application, and it has other metadata, some records if you go to the tables. So there are some tables here, GL entry, and then there will be CSV files. So let's just go into another project. I don't know what this would be. Okay, no, it's not here. If I go Micha Cloud, let's see what we have here. Application, tables, GL entry. Okay, one. Well, let me just connect to one working part here. That would be an option to understand this better. Let me just enable this part here. Okay, to go for connection. So here I have information how the image is being started. Image is being started every day. This is 6 a.m. GMT +2. That's probably the time that it is, and it starts the image. It starts the Docker container, and then Docker does exports all the tables, and it creates as many packages as there are data size, and in this case it is processing 14 minutes, 3 minutes to start and 11 minutes to push data out. And this is a Docker container or Docker container in work. So what you have seen here, there is a update every day, and as a log result, what's doing? It's loading data, it's pushing data, customer ledger entry, vendor entry, sales invoice, different tables. And you can see it does in parallel. Here we have some parallelism, which is speeding up the export here.